Welcome back to the PCC. My name is Rdawggg with the triple G's, and I am back with Trix and Spuds the Tuber, and we are watching the grand finals for the fourth Prime Championship circuit. I am looking forward to this game too. We've got even worse timing versus Dirty Lake and the boys. Let's go ahead and go to the draft. Spuds, I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you think they're going to ban Muriel again?
I feel like we're going to get both bans again. I don't think these teams have changed any of their bans since they started playing. I don't see them target banning anything. I feel like EWT doesn't have to worry about anything. They were just so dominant in the last game. I don't feel like they need to target ban anything at all. I feel like they're going to run through this game again.
What about you, Trix? Oh, well, now we see the Muriel ban yet again. Are they going to take away the Rampage this time? Trix, talk to us.
I'm predicting the Bellica ban because nothing ever changes.
Oh my god. And here we go. We get another Bellica ban, but that just leaves Rampage yet again for grabs. I don't know how much else, I hope this draft will look a little bit different. What are your thoughts right now, Spuds?
First pick Rampage, and that's all I got for you. I don't have any idea what to go on right now.
Oh my gosh. And now we have first pick Rampage yet again. We saw what Ray was able to do with Rampage. I don't know what, they have to change something or do something to counter against even worse timing, or else this is just going to be a clean sweep. Trix, talk to us about the draft.
So I pointed out the three problems: the Rampage, the Phase, and the Shinbi. Maybe Dirty Lake and the boys was just like, they're going to take Rampage, we take Shinbi Phase next. Like, that would be crazy. They're unexpected. No, they're going to take the Kira, they're going to take the Richter. Okay, I mean, I like this too. We saw Pablo with the sticks out on the Kira. Just a farming monster, early game pressure. Kira, they say her early game's kind of weak. Pablo showing, hey, maybe that's not the case. Pumping out lots of damage. I like the Richter into the phase too.
Yeah, we'll see who else will be the picks here. Spuds, talk to us about what you think about what you're seeing on the draft right now.
I'm thinking I'm liking even worse timing a lot more. They gave them the Decker with the Morgus. Now, I didn't think Morgus would be able to keep up with Gideon's clear in the mid game or in the first game, but they kind of showed me that Morgus can still work without even needing to worry about that. And then the Decker pickup, oh, that's going to be a little bit nasty combo right there.
Yeah, that is like the chef's kiss cherry on top for you, especially when you're seeing Decker. I'm just so sad I'm not seeing any Bellicas because they keep banning her. But, Trix, you were talking about Shinbi. Now we see Shinbi getting picked up by Dirty Lake and the boys as well as Steel.
I really like taking the Shinbi away from the Snoop. I like the Steel. A lot of CC coming out from Dirty Lake and the boys, but like I mentioned in the draft of game one, if your opponent picks Rampage, picking Decker is a big priority. Having two of those long range CCs on one team is, it's a nightmare. And Vecron has been playing Decker since the original Paragon. He is very proficient with this character.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see what kind of plays, or engages he will make with Decker as we see Crunch and Rdawggg getting picked up by even worse timing. Now that Kira is being taken away, we don't have Murdoch anymore, and Lakeinator won't be on that Murdoch. Talk to us, Spuds, about the current draft.
I'm still voting for even worse timing here. I know the Steel can make some big CC plays. You got the Richter to follow up on it, but the Gag Grenade from the Decker Stun into Gag Grenade, follow up by Crunch, I feel like they're going to be able to section off people and just pick them apart little by little as they're going into fights here.
All right, and now we have the last pick being Faith. Trix, talk to us.
Yeah, the Faye and the Steel, that's the Faye Steel Richter classic combo. Huge wombo combo of ults, but I hate to say it, I have to agree with you guys. I think even worse timing is going to have an even better time this game. Their draft looks really solid, and I don't really see how Dirty Lake and the boys group up Even Worse Timing to land all those big wombo combos. Even Worse Timing wants to fight pretty, their front line and their back line are going to be pretty far apart. So I'm interested to see how the team fights go, because Dirty Lake and the boys is going to have to kind of push the pace with this team fight comp.
Yeah, especially when they're picking up Richter and they're picking up the steal. Richter, most especially, he's more of an aggressive hero as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing a little bit more from Dirty Lake and the boys. We saw them playing a lot more passively with game 1. So I'm curious to see if maybe that's how they'll adapt into game 2. Any other thoughts, Spuds, about what we saw on that draft sheet?
I'm looking forward to who they choose for support, Steel or Richter. I feel like Richter might have issues if he goes in, and I feel like Steel might only slightly be the better choice because of the wall. So I think it really depends on who they put into the support role.
Yeah, it'll be like the support versus jungler role between the two heroes there. Any other last remarks, Trix, before we turn it over to the casting desk?
I'm really excited to see how the Snoop fares against the Shinbi. Oftentimes when you play a character to such a high level, you're able to exploit it. And, we haven't seen Nitro play Shinbi. We've seen him play the Feng Mao. They play pretty similarly, a couple key differences, but I'm expecting that offlane matchup to be another volatile one.
All right, everybody. I know you want to see this matchup. Game number 2 of the grand finals in the PCC. Take it away, Lance and TJ.
Hello, we are back with you again, and we are just going to take a second just kind of talk about this, because I think that draft was very interesting. It looked to me as if it was kind of a tale of getting a pick versus getting like a wombo off. We saw that Dirty Lake and the boys ended up picking that Shinbi up, that the Snoop kind of ran rampant with him in the last game. Tell me about like what kind of strategy you think Dirty Lake and the boys picked, had when they were drafting this composition.
Okay, there we go. Thank you very much. Yes, I know. I'm sorry. Anyway, so the problem that we've got that Dirty Lake and the boys had in that draft really is that there was a lot of picks onto the even worse timing that could have been taken away very easily, right? Shinbi could have been banned, Kira could have been banned, FaZe could have been banned or taken away, but the problem is that they only had the one ban. So it's like, okay, what we're going to do, we're gonna deny Kira away, give it over to Lakenator. We're also going to take the Shinbi away. That means Ray does get the rampage here at least, but for Dirty Lake and the boys, they do have kind of that win condition. It's finding that wombo combo, particularly around these jungle matchups. But as we've seen with even worse timing, and as the Des points out, is that with how this team is going to really be piloted around, it's not going to be very often that this team is going to actually group together into that perfect wombo combo.
It definitely is, and it's interesting to see as well. We saw that Pablo kind of won that lane in the dual lane and kind of was one of the other really big, impactful, really quick, we do have to talk about this. We have Shinbi going into the jungle on Grady, and it does look like it's going to be a Richter in the off lane over there to take it on, as Toasty piloting the steal here as well. So we get to see Grady the baddie on the biggest baddie that the predecessor roster has, which is my Shinbei. Shout out to the guys that made the Shinbi song. If you don't know what I'm talking about, DM me. I'll send it to you very happily. It's also my Twitch follow notification. Head over to the Lance Cecil's on Twitch and check out sometime. Shameless plug, but here they come in towards each other. So we got to talk about this really quick though. So Lakenator first pick blind picked Kira, which is what Pablo had done the draft beforehand. Pablo takes that natural counter for that Kira, which is the Drongo. A lot of ways to get away from that ult, stop the ult itself as well. They've definitely got a stronger early lane, pressure situation here with that Decker into the steal as well, where it's a little bit hard for a steal to move up forward on to that Decker. I was happy to also see that they picked that Decker into a crunch as well, as Decker is one of the main things and ways to shut down a crunch. Playing crunch into Decker feels absolutely terrible if you've never had to experience that.
Yeah, and also with that steal matchup, as you say, completely agree with the Decker pickers. as well. Like, it's going to be a tough old time for Toasty, but I feel like when you do take the steal, that even though you might have a bit of a rough old time in lane, you still have that potential. Your bull rush, you know, might become just a one-way trip, but if you can find that perfect knock-up onto priority members, you can still kind of make the steal pick work here. But, you know, there's a lot to be terrified anyway about this even worse timing draft as well, is that this pick comp, right? Rampage and Decker that they're able to highlight.
They do, but as I'm starting to see these lane matchups and like look around, I'm starting to kind of like what Dirty Lake and the boys are doing. I saw Nitro over there on the Richter, had a fond reminiscence of what he did in our last semifinals when he just went absolutely ham. He was in the jungle for that matchup, but he's played it into a crunch, and one of the worst things you can experience as a crunch is a silence. Richter's got that in spades, so actually pretty smart of them to try to find a different kind of way to shut the Snoop down, taking a really like favorable matchup with Nitro here on the Richter. That way, you know, Snoop forward crunches in, and then all of a sudden he can't use any of his abilities, can't get that healing up. Maybe Nitro has an opportunity to win that 1v1, especially in the early levels here. So maybe that is what they're looking for. They also do have Snoop on the long, or way down in his lane, a little unprotected right here too. So maybe get a little bit of early action that way, but it does look like Ray is going to be the first one to peek his head into lane, but Appy's going to dodge him.
Yeah, just coming in from the right-hand side, shadow wall as well. So Appy Picker, you know, got the Duke boots on to keep that one away. Meanwhile, Gratty just going to keep on farming as well. So, yeah, I think, you know, 100% the Shinbi jungle is definitely the surprise. But when you're at this point, you know, in a grand finals game, you're already one game down. Sometimes you need to pull out the pocket pick. Sometimes you need to throw a little bit of craziness in, because I feel like with how even worse time we're playing that first game as well, is that even though Dirty Lake and the boys took a very you know, standard draft into it and tried to play standard predecessor, even as timing just showed that they were better at it in that first game. So like the boys respond and say, okay, let's, you know, try and flip the script a little bit and embrace a little bit of that chaos. You see Gratty was over by the duo side, but has actually completed the recall as well. Pablo and Vecron not really buying into this one at all, at least. But yeah, just having a look across here, you know, both junglers have at least made an attempt towards a lane, but neither of them have actually worked.
Yeah, full rotation out of them. Both of them got that first back out as well, going to get the first components of their items, probably building into that Overlord on Ray, probably going towards the Mega Cosm on the Shinbi as well. So just getting a little bit faster, getting able to clear those jungles at a little bit higher of a speed, get a little bit more pressure into the lanes, as we have seen several times. That's how you have the biggest impact on the map as a jungler. And just like that, there's Gratty coming into the mid lane, gonna push Shin back a little bit, secure the river buff for Appy Picker as well. Ray's gonna pick the one up on the opposite side, and still no one has fallen in this game 2 of our finals.
Yeah, it's very just tit for tat at the moment. Just both of these teams playing pretty standard, honestly. No one really pushing the boat out, so to speak. That duo lane has constantly just been back and forward between tier 1 towers. Same with the off lane as well. You saw that Nitro was able to push in. Yeah, so the Snoop was able to push in Nitro, but now Nitro was able to push the Snoop back as well. So again, just very back and forward. The CS is only about 12 difference across the board as well, so not really necessarily a big advantage coming out for either of these teams. And now immediately, when we're in this situation, it's like, okay, which player is going to be unlocking these situations? You know, duo lane is going to go for a reset, and I believe the Dirty Lake and the Boyd team will also probably go for another reset after this lane as well. So, you know, my eyes are immediately just going to go straight to the jungler's lands here.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I'd like to see Gratty kind of hover over here by the Snoop as he does it, and as he pops in, just as we were saying that, with the fact that Snoop hit 6 before that, you got to try to catch Nitro up a little bit. He also has the most favorable lane advantage on the team for Dirty Lake and the boys, and so I think trying to hold down somebody who was really impressive to you the game before, especially when you've got a favorable like lineup and a way to attack him and a good plan for it, I'd like to see Gratty just kind of sit over on that side, just kind of camp it and let it go. You can trust Lakeinator to know that he's at least going to try to stay even. He's going to be useful late game. He's strong mechanically, even if he's not. Being on Kira means you are inevitable to the point that you get strong, and that's the move that I kind of want to see them work. We did see Ray peek his head out in the off lane as well, as actually it looks like Nitro's going to be the one that's a little low here. Going to be able to get back into his tier 1 tower. Is Ray going to circle around and try to hit him with a boulder? Nope, he's going to take a little counter jungle.
Yeah, you know, you could. This is one of the moments where it's like, you know, how much do you want to toe line? Actually, maybe even looking towards the mid lane, pick possibly on towards Appy Picker as these river buffs are coming out. So this is actually going to most likely secure the double buffs for even worse timing once again on these picks as well. But going back towards that Shinbi jungle as well, is I'm realizing that with these ganks, it's relying a lot on those laners as well to really set it up. You know, Richter's got to hit that Rip Flash. You don't have any natural CC that you did have in the previous game as well. It's all on your laners. So, you know, got to hit that Rip Flash, got to hit that Silence or Skewer. Whereas Ray's just got to hit that Bold and everyone else kind of piles in. There's a lot of setup already built in. It's going to be a tough old time for the Shinbi, but we know what the Shinbi can do when it does get ahead. It's just a question of can Gratty really leverage this. I like this from Toasty as well, actually protecting these buffs as well, making sure that Gratty is not going to be interrupted in the earlier stages of these games as he's trying to fight.
Yeah, Gratty's taking that Envision though, so Ray's gonna make a move up on here while he knows that Gratty is distracted, taking that 3 camp, gonna hit the Behemoth. And then he's going to miss the Insta Rock over there. Gratty's going to come in for the counter gauge as well, but he is kind of up there on his own. They're just going to shake hands there. At least they're going to burn the Behemoth there out of Ray, but it looks like the gold buff may be the prize for Pablo.
Yeah, taking the incremental lead. I think that's just unfortunate timing as well, because you saw that the duo lane for Dirty Lake and the Boys, both sitting on level 5s, did not have ultimates. I imagine that if Toasty had that level 6, that would have been a much more hard committal coming from Gratty. But unable to find it for now. Meanwhile, though, yeah, the Snoop and Nitro once again just trading out, and
he's just going to W him.
Yeah, he's just going to run him down. Will be able to be hit by the Silence, but the Snoop does not care. Nitro blinks away from that one. Has got Gratty as the Skewer. Maybe the counter engage. Look down. Toasty's here as well for the CC. They're trying to find it, but it's going to be a confirm. Nitro wanting this pick on towards the crunch and will find him as well. It's going to be first blood for Dirty Lake and the Boys.
Put him on the board, and then they've got their eyes set for the mini prime as well. They do need to be careful, as we did just see Rampage on the outskirts for the back of this as well. Last time they got the first or prime, or the first mini prime, and then died pretty much immediately with it. Good position out of even worse time in here to try to contest it for him. Looks like Dirty Lake and the Boys are going to peel off, even though they do have the Gratty here. Gonna hit the bull rush here on the steal, get onto Ray. They're going to have to look at him, but that's not necessarily the target you want to take while in the jungle with that passive regen that he gets, and they are both going to back away from it.
Yeah, just trying to get Gratty away from that mini prime, and that is the result as well. I like the heads-up play from Dirty Lake and the Boys to make something happen, be proactive on the map, especially when you have that advantage. But even worse timing, not necessarily with their rotation to, you know, answer and start the pick. It's in a defensive response, and this time, no, they're going to keep the momentum going, immediately pulling on towards the Fangtooth as well. And you saw low health bars for Dirty Lake and the Boys. I'm not really sure if there could be any meaningful contest here, and this might be even worse timing, just securing themselves the first Fangtooth completely uncontested, and that's what happens.
Yep, that is going to be an extension onto those buffs for themselves if when they pick them up, the red, the blue, the river buffs, the orb prime, or the mini prime, anything that you can get on that 50% longer, that is very nice for them. They have their eyes toward this off lane once again, though, as Gratty and Nitro do be teaming up, doing it on top of a ward. They must have missed that with the sweeper as they were coming in. So even worse timing will be wise to this. It'll be interesting to see if Ray decides to make an appearance. I can't imagine that they will just give this for nothing. Although it does look like Shin did just enter the jungle over to this side. So let's see about it, but it should be secured at any moment now, as they had been on it for quite some time. And yeah, that's going to be it. They're going to give it over to Gratty, make Shinbi glow purple like she's on stage and with the lights down rain from the top of her.
Yeah, I do like the recall animation. It's pretty nice. But hey, you know, with the mini prime, this is immediately what we look at, Lance. It's like, what does this team do with the mini prime? Of course, in the last game, it was going on to Pablo. It was just destroying these turrets. Granted, we're at 11 minutes, so not necessarily going to be at that point for now. But at the moment, I don't really see Gratty really pushing into these, or will be pushing into these lanes rather, to try and make something happen, because the lane states do seem very even here. So possibly trying to force something out, maybe. I'm not so sure. But for now, just going to take the, going to take the gold, going to take the XP, and also take up that little bit of a power boost as well.
Yeah, if I'm Gratty right now, I use that for a little bit to power farm, and then I make an appearance back over in that off lane. I know I've been saying it before, but I really feel like you have to camp the Snoop, especially with that advantage with having the Richter over there into it. Who ulted?
Yeah, that was Ray Behemoth. Yeah, that was a Behemoth. Pounced into lane through the instant rock, and like, they just sidestepped it at least. So that could be a very important cooldown in if there's another fight, but with no neutrals on the on the map at the moment, there's nothing to really fight about and to use that behemoth for now. So just a bit of a weird kind of okay, we're like trying to force something to happen, I guess. But hey, Lakeland's able to secure this gold buff over towards the left-hand side, and let's have a little look at the tab. Let's see where these players are. Let's look at the CES difference. So unsurprisingly, it's going to be even worse timing, just pulling ahead in the CS lead as well. Lakeland to 75 to oh, sorry, I think I just lost that CS as it dipped away. It's fine, thank you very much.
Ooh, Pablo's got 115 already. Hot damn. And Shin's at 100 himself as well. We are, that's a little under that 10 CS a minute mark, but both Julian pretty well in that scenario. Got that first item out for Nitro as well, who was able to pick that first blood up on the Snoop. We've got another fight breaking out as Ray's going to take a step in here. Going to hit him with the skewers, but that's only going to do nothing but buy him some time. He's going to take an uppercut to the face here. The ice score and talents are going to come as well, and that should be enough for the Snoop to pick up the first kill for himself on this crunch as well. Now Grady doesn't necessarily have a good option to go to, maybe able to pick up some of this this wave experience, these minions here, but probably not a lot of kill potential, even with Toasty Roman over. Appy Picker as well, they're well back in their tier 1 tower. Maybe push this down. Actually, it looks like the mini prime is off of him as well. I don't know if they got a single lane pushed with that mini prime that they had just put on Grady there.
No, just keeping the power as well. And I think that play over towards the solo side was at the same time as a pick on towards Shin on this Moragesh, who did go down to a death timer whilst that gank did happen as well. So probably, we took the coin flip on which side of the map we were going to follow for that one. But, that was a trade at least. So just one for one overall, as one gank solo, one gank mid here as well. But this again just feels like we're waiting for that haymaker fight to happen. We're 15 minutes into the game. We've only really had the Fangtooth being uncontested and also mini prime being uncontested.
Ooh, from the top
duo side is going to
turnbuckle.
be trouble. Lakex goes in, but as she's going to find themselves falling, Toasty blinks in to take down and trade the AD carries at least, and now some support or combat potentially. But Ray is here with the boulder toss as well, making their presence known. Shin
and so is Shin
as well. Toasty is just going to try and buy as much time as possible. Watch the mini-map though, whilst Toasty is trying to take time away. Look at where Gratty is. Look at that on the mid lane. They're trying to push the tier 1 tower inside of the mid, but Ray has at least been able to answer back though. So the play, it doesn't really work out how it is intended. That's just going to be a trade of 80 carries and Toasty dropping down.
Yeah, and we're going to see it again here. Lakenator gets really low, gets really close to taking Pablo there with the subjugate. Not quite what it takes. Toshi's going to blink forward, make that get secured, get that assist gold into Lakenator's pocket for him too, like a good support should. But unfortunately, they're going to take Toasty after that, as well as the Ray throws a rock and then immediately scoots over to mid lane to defend that tier 1 tower. Really good map awareness from him there, as they're actually going to move straight onto the second potential Fangtooth for themselves as well. Grady is here though. He's going to jump forward with the Behemoth. The curse is going to come through, but it's not quite enough to kill Grady, but they are still on him. Nitro's going to pull him away. What a peel by Nitro there to keep Grady alive, get him a reset, give them the opportunity to potentially recontest this Fangtooth. He's going to have to push B, get back there, but that's where even worse timing is going to want to move towards next. So they need to be aware of this. And that's one of the better peel pulls I've ever seen. Shout out to Nitro.
That was just from the camera angle as well. Literally, it's the hook that comes off on stage, just grab them by the neck and just yank them straight out. Granted, of course, in the Behemoth, much bigger target, but Nitro, that hook landed exactly when they needed to, and absolutely right lands. Probably, if that pick onto Gratty happens, they will just immediately go onto the Fangtooth because they know they have got the free slay to take down with the true damage. But for now, we go back towards this dance. Even worse timing, not able to really counteract it. And actually, Rdawggg the boys did get a pick on towards Pablo on the Drongo as well. So keeping themselves firmly in this game, and that Fangtooth still standing as well means that we have another potential for another fight or prime. So it is going to be another mini prime spawning before the or prime. So I am wondering if anyone's going to try and get the double buffs towards that right hand side, or maybe look towards this Fangtooth.
I agree with you. The gold buff is up once again. Pablo's going to probably be able to pick that up for himself, as I don't believe Lake's in a position to contest it. They got a little pressure onto the Shin over there in the mid lane, but it does look like he's going to be able to push them off as the rest of Even Worse Timing is starting to show up here. This Fangtooth is up and ready to be taken. They're gonna recognize that that ward is there, realize that it doesn't really matter as they can see them anyways, decide not to sweep it. Good decision by them, I think, to just walk towards it. Toasty's going to catch the boulder, which is good for Dirty Lake and the boys here, as they don't have a lot of CC left on the side of it. The Shield Slam's going to land down as well. Brady's just going to pursue the Shin back into the back lines, but Ray is just fighting 3 people right in front of him with Behemoth active, getting so much health back. Gonna have to hit the stasis, and Pablo's gonna win the 1v1 against Lakeinator over on the other side. Toasty's got his tail tucked between his legs as he is running away as well, but unfortunately he's running into the Shin. Pablo's gonna pick him up as well. That's at least 2 for Pablo, and as all of this is happening, Snoop is pushing the tier 2 tower in the opposite side of the map, making the big play again.
Yeah, I swear in those moments, Ray in the Behemoth ultimate counts as at least 2 people as well. That felt like a 5v5 without it actually being a 5 versus 5, because as you say, Snoop just split pushing the entire time. It's a big swing for Even Worse Timing as well, and you know, pretty good timing on that one. Some great team fighting, able to show a bit of patience as well. The reward is a second Fangtooth of the game into their back pocket, and this is, as you said, with game number 1, you know, you've had Dirty Lake and the boys really contest Even Worse Timing throughout this game. It's taken them 15 minutes for Even Worse Timing to have a noticeable lead, shall we say, because that's when that first fight happened. But, you know, you get a sense of maybe deja vu starting to creep in as well, because we've seen what happens when Even Worse Timing start to pull that advantage.
And the other thing that's rough about this for Dirty Lake and the boys is exactly how it happened in the last game as well, where Even Worse Timing were able to win or at least find advantages in 4v5s while Snoop is on the other side of the map pushing things down. And it happens once again here as well. We may be getting some other deja vu as well, as they took this same mini prime in the last game and they used it to take all 3 tier 2 towers, 3 towers, 1 mini prime that was on Pablo during that game. It's on Shin this time, so a little bit less pushing power with the Morigesh. Still a whole lot of advantage for Even Worse Timing in this scenario.
Yeah, and 3 members even going around towards the mid lane as well, keeping Shin away from those towers, making sure they cannot leverage the mini prime buff. But that's kind of all they can really do at this point. They can avoid kind of weather the storm. You get a sense that, you know, they don't necessarily want to force a fight into this situation. They know Even Worse Timing have got their advantages, so maybe looking to counter engage, maybe find something around this all prime, which is going to be spawning in just a matter of seconds. Because what we've highlighted so much in the draft as well is that this is the wombo combo team, right? It just takes one massive ultimate from any of these teams to find something, but Even Worse Timing want to pull something of their own out of the curse. Will go down onto Lakeinator, and it is going to be the kill coming out there. They collapse, they burst, and they take down a priority target.
Yeah, that's exactly what they want to do. Not a whole lot of wave clear coming out of Lakeinator anyways. Still a whole lot of team fight potential. And stop me if you've heard this one, but Snoop's got the entire other side of the lane to himself. Nitro is starting to come down there to defend him here, but he was looking to split push another tier 2 tower down as they were, you know, winning a fight in mid without him. It doesn't even matter where Snoop is on them, or it is for these fights. They seem to be taking them without him. He's going to join and pick himself up a kill for this one anyways as a consolation prize, but he's going to move right back over to that tier 2 tower that he was on before. He's going to push this entire map down at this rate.
I'll say if this man is able to get a mini prime buff, like I don't think there's gonna be any structure standing.
They can't do that, because then Dirty Lake and the boys would know not to leave him alone. Is the problem with that, right? That would draw too much attention to the Snoop, and he's trying to be slick about it.
I mean, yeah, he is being very slick about it, because he's just got the freedom of these side lanes. And, you know, this, again, is the heads-up play. It's, you know, he's pushed all of solo side. Now he's gone and pushed out the duo side as well. And you saw what happened when the Snoop does eventually go into these fights as well, utilizing the kit. It was a very nice pick, and just the layering of CC on towards Gratty on the Shinbi as well. Getting boulder toss, knock up into a gag grenade silent as well. There's no way the Shinbi was able to get out of that one alive. And you can just see Even Worse Timing starting to pull ahead in this one. They have got the control. Just having a little check on the on the towers as well. You can see that the tier 1 towers, for even worse timing, all of them, I believe, remain standing. If I'm looking at this mini-map correctly here. Like, that is insane. 22 minutes, they're still there.
And hardly any damage done to the duo lane lane 1 as well. Ooh, Shin's gonna get caught in the fly trap. That is gonna spell a pretty quick death for him. They did use a lot of their CC for that though, so Ray does have the ability to just kind of walk in onto them. He is chasing Lakeinator down, gonna bump him in the head Donkey Kong style with that rumble. Gonna turn his attention over to Toasty as well. Not quite the target they want to. Nitro's gonna miss the hook. Off the top turnbuckle goes Toasty, but not a lot of follow-up damage for him there. Grady is there, but not a lot of damage.
Nice.
Skewer comes down as well, but still just no follow-up damage as Lakeinator is already down. That's going to be Grady falling as well. Toasty leaves as well. Only Appy and Nitro up to defend this tier 2 tower, or defend whatever they move to, as it looks like the third Fangtooth should be spawning very soon. They may take that. They may take the Orb Prime, but no matter what, even worse timing gets a pick of how they want to control this map.
God, that's got to be such a gut punch for the side of Dirty Lake and the boys. If Lakeinator was in that fight, that is near enough going to be a team wipe. How low health all of the members of even worse timing was. The wombo combo came out, big knock up, big skewer onto them, and Appy Picker throwing out so much AoE damage, but wasn't able to get the chain of eliminations, utilize that Fade passive to just spawn more of those AoE nettles to just deal out more of that damage. And say, you know, Lakeinator not being a fight, just so unfortunate. But even worse timing, feels like they kind of get away with that one. Not a very clean fight from them, and it has allowed Dirty Lake and the boys to get some important kills. Fangtooth number 3 is going to be starting. Gratty looking for an engage, goes onto Shin once again, but there's a CC, a fly trap on towards the mid lane, and will be able to secure the kill. Ray in the middle of 4 members trying their best to tank this up. Snoop goes in looking for Lakeinator, but Lakeinator able to pull away. Pablo blinks for the kill as well, looking for the knock up, looking for the wombo combo that they're trying to find, but even worse timing, just look a lot healthier. They look like they're just running down members one by one. They found 3, they found a 4th. It's only Appy Picker alive here. Even worse timing with a haymaker in the mid lane.
Right, and they're going to set their eyes right on the biggest objective in the game, that Orb Prime right now. Get that pushing power, look to take these tier 2 towers down, but just watch this replay. Watched that replay. It was a fantastic one. It was very long. We saw the entirety of that fight. They just completely wiped them. Grady got picked out early in it, got a little bit out of position, and they just jumped on him. They pulled the trigger so quick on even worse timing, and the prize for that, they were Dirty Lake and the boys trying to set up for that Fangtooth. It's going to end up costing them the Orb Prime.
Such a huge swing, and now there we go. The deja vu might be starting to take, you know, if this was 0-0, I mean, okay, don't get me wrong, 25 minutes, even
it's
worse.
0-0.
Literally,
it's 0. It's right on the top of the screen, TJ. It's 0-0.
It is. But if even worse timing, this was game number 1. It's like, okay, it's like, hey, I think I've seen this one before. But at this point, you know, it's 25 minutes in. We have to remember, even worse timing were literally in their base at this point. So far was their lead, but for now, they have just been kind of restricted. But this is the big break they were looking for. Ray has been a player that I really want to highlight in these team fights. Again, that Behemoth ult, not utilizing it to engage the fight. It's just in the middle. You think you've killed this Rampage, and Ray just spawns 2 more health bars as the second and third part of this boss fight emerges. A pretty standout game from the jungler as well, and that's going to be another security of neutral objective. The third Fangtooth will be in their back pocket. It's a dangerous game for Dirty Lake and the boys. It's a tough one.
This is scary. Even worse timing is 28% stronger than they were 1 minute ago with picking up that Orb Prime, picking up that third Fangtooth, and Grady is just going to get absolutely exploded as if he swallowed a rocket or an M80 that was lit, just from the inside out, blows up. That is 1 member down, less defense, a little bit less safer, a little bit of wave clear off of the board as well. Still have Appy to try to be able to defend this, but it is not looking great for them, as once again, Snoop's on the opposite side of the map. They're going to pressure both inhibs on the opposite side of the map, probably take both of them down simultaneously as well, as they have decided to commit 4 people to the defense over here in the duo lane for now. Gonna forfeit that one over to the Snoop here, as he does still have about 5 minions. Another minion wave crashing in as well. and Abby's going to come in and try to clear that out. But even with a Fae, the Orb Prime buffed up minions just take so long to clear. Oh, they are going to be able to save that for now, actually. Kudos to Abby.
Yeah, and Gratty even taking the jump pad at this situation. That was kind of a heart-in-mouth moment, especially where even worse timing was. They're going to look for it. Nitro hits a rip flash on towards Pablo. He's even tanking in him. White trap coming out from Abby Picker. Grabs 3 of them. And Dirty Lake and the boys find a defense. What an ultimate.
A little bit of life in them here. That was massive. Check this out on the replay here. That's what we're looking for, baby. Immediately followed up by the skewers as well. Lakeinator's going to drop his ult on them as well, absolutely to delete them, and that's what they need. That's going to get rid of a lot of the pressure. That's their damage dealers as well. I guess Snoop is still up as well, but only Ray and Snoop left to defend this. Good opportunity for Dirty Lake and the boys. Maybe take a lot of this standing gold that is still up here on the map with only tier 1, or with only one tier 1 tower down on the side of even worse timing. They need to pick that up, try to get a way to get some major item spikes back into themselves. But as you can see, that wombo combo is true, and they're hitting the point where they've got enough damage to be able to kill the squishies on even worse timing. Even with that lead, if they can get an advantageous spot, get a good ultimate off, and they should be good to go. But it looks like Nitro might get caught in the tower here by Snoop as he insects him back into it. He did have a teammate with him there, but I'm not sure necessarily where he went. Nitro's going to hit the cheesy little blink to get him up and keep him safe here, as Faye is going to sacrifice himself, going to put him back into a corner and put Appy down for a nappy. He's just going to pick the Scion buff up right after it as well.
Yeah, and meanwhile, there's even a pick on towards Lakeinator to the left-hand side. You praise the team one moment, but all of a sudden, they just lose 4 members across the map here. Even worse timing, just pull them apart in the 1v1s and the 2 versus 2s. And now look at these death times, 40 seconds until we have a full 5 squad able to push back. Granted, Dirty Lake and the boys were able to push the minion waves out quite far, but this is a huge amount of time where Gratty's the only one left to hold the fort here, because even worse timing, you know, have managed to push up the minions back. They have options available to them. You've got 2 members in the mid lane, Pablo on the left hand side as well, keeping these minions going. It's gonna have to, lads, I feel like we've got to have another wombo combo and then another one after that for Dirty Lake and the boys to try and get into this one, because even worse timing, they're squeezing the life out of them.
We might need to see 3 of them before they've got, you know, the time that it takes with the death timers being long enough, with the fact that they're going to have to push the entire length of all of these waves as well, as it looks like that second inhib fell as well. They're going to move all 5 members of them over. This is where they're going to have to look to see a pick. This is similar to where they got the last one. See if they can get a good engage, as Toasty is moving forward, but Snoop is going to get forward. You got to be careful there. If Snoop would have got his big robot hands on somebody, he probably would have put them into spectator mode for a couple of seconds.
For sure, that's really got, you know, you've got to pay attention. But I like this from even worse timing is that they do still respect the ultimates. They still respect Dirty Lake and the boys. They didn't want to just try and force the end just there. They're going to back off. They're going to reset, go back to the shop, and this gives a bit of breathing room for Dirty Lake and the boys. Let's have a look at the tab menu. Let's see where we are at with these items, Lance. What you seeing here, buddy?
The big thing that I am seeing here is Pablo is getting pretty much to the point that he is full build. You see him at 10, 4, and 4. He is the carry for this game. He's got the Liberator on, got the Vanquisher. He does not care about people's ideas about whether Vanquisher is good or not. Pablo thinks that it is, so it is good. He's got that Sky Splitter to kind of do that % health damage, find a way to be able to take down Toasty, take down Nitro, who've got a bunch of defenses there, chain of rounds as well to stop the healing, a whole bunch of different things. We saw Gratty's on the 2 items as well. We saw he started with the Life Binder. He's got the Flux Matrix as well. I'm not super familiar with the item Pathation for Pathation. I don't know if that's a word for Shinbi, but take it away, TJ, because here's a fight.
Yeah, just looking at the holding W key as well. Lakeinator throwing out the purge, trying to return the damage. It's a lot of value from the light screen, but Dirty Lake and the boys had the audacity to step into what they thought was their own mid lane, and even worse timing. One by one, it's a pentakill coming out as well. Incredible play coming out, and that's gonna be just cap off this game, Lance.
That's the full RGS ace. All 5 members of Dirty Lake and the boys are dead, and that is going to be game 2 for even worse timing.
Huge moments coming out there. That was, you know, putting putting us all through the ringer there. That was a, past 30 minutes on that game. It had everything. Like, we're just having to sit back in our chair and breathe with that one. But just as we thought that game maybe had a little bit more life into it, Even Worse Timing just decided, you know what, we're going to end this game, and it's going to be Pablo 15-4-4. Gets the pentakill right at the end, keeping the tradition, by the way, of pentakills in PCC Grand Finals as well. What a treat! What a treat!
Yeah, Pablo the Walking Penta. That is his back-to-back penta in the finals for PCC events. Just absolutely incredible. Different teams on both of them as well. He seems to kind of be, the shining star over in that dual lane for the entirety of the game until Neff decides to come back and try to put him into his place. But holy S-word, that was a performance out of them. It just, I can't believe how well Snoop moves himself around the map and how he's always in those positions where he's supposed to be. I expected a lot of really great things coming out of Dirty Lake and the boys once I saw them get into their lanes and I saw their ideas for how they were trying to work that map, where they were trying to put Grady out, what they were trying to do to impact the map. I loved the strategy that they took and I liked the approach. However, the execution for Even Worse Timing is just too flawless.
Yeah, the Even Worse Timing squad really putting on a clinic for predecessor, how it's going to be played on the biggest stage that we have here as well, in PCC Grand Finals. We're going to go and try and catch our break. But to break down game number 2, we're going to throw it back to Rdawggg and the analyst desk to, go over what we just saw.
All right. Thank you so much, TJ. Spuds, what do you think about that?
Oh man, it was another stomp. It was just another stomp. I don't really know what to say. What is Snoop smoking that the cloud covering him has? The enemy team has no idea where he's coming from. I have no idea. I have no idea where to go with this.
I mean, it was crazy. It was another, just absolutely textbook performance by Even Worse Timing. It was more of the same, I feel like. It was Snoop being in the off lane, them, setting the pace. I really liked what Toasty and Lakeinator and all them were trying to do early game. They were a lot more active on the map, but it felt like they were kind of just moving around without much direction. It was like, I'm just gonna run to your lane, like let's see what happens. Where Even Worse Timing, it felt so much more intentional, and I think that's kind of like what set the pace apart. And then later in the game, they're just so far ahead that it doesn't matter what happens.
It truly doesn't matter. They tried to take the Shinbi away from Snoop, but Grady the baddie on Shinbi jungle
even
instead of
over
Richter
on the
steal.
left
We
hand
don't see
side,
that very
Snoop's going to go on
often.
towards Happy Picker, goes into the black hole, looking to find down Nitro on the other hand side, but Ray wails on the damage towards Happy Picker. They tried to make that happen. Lakeinator steps up, but maybe the counter engagement now. Toasty's here as well for the CC. They're trying to find it, but it's going to be confirmed. Nitro wanting this pick onto
I'm gonna take a step in here, gonna hit him with the skewers, but that's only gonna do nothing but buy him some time. He's gonna take an uppercut to the face here. The ice score and talents are gonna come as well.
But all of a sudden, Pablo Wazowski with the pentakill. Spuds, what were you thinking about that match?
I was just blown away by everything. I actually, same thing with what you were saying about the flash trap. I thought that was their turn to come back into it. I didn't realize that was just another play being made. They got something and then they let it go again. They got something and then they let it go again. And that's how I just felt like this match was going. They got the mini prime and then they didn't do anything with it. They gained that and then they let it go. And then EWT's running off. They're already gaining Feint Tooth, so they let that go. I just feel like Dirty Lake and the boys just they when they get something, they need to run with it instead of just throwing it back on the floor.
I completely agree with that. What about you, Trix?
Yeah, it's tough to watch, a team make the same mistakes again. I liked what they were doing. The effort was certainly there. They did change some stuff up. I don't really like, Grady's build on Shinbi. Building tank Shinbi when you have the Richter and the Steel, to me, seems kind of redundant. Like, you need that damage. And every fight, it kind of showed. Like, Lakeinator was getting blown up the second he stepped out of position, and then everything kind of falls apart.
Yeah, especially when you have the two big boys, like you have the Richter, you have the Steel, trying to peel for your damage dealers, trying to peel for Appy, trying to peel for Lakeinator. I am actually very confused about that too. Unfortunately, it just wasn't enough, and game 2 goes to even worse timing. Spuds, any other remarks about that game number 2?
They need to ban Rampage. I have no idea. No, this is all I got.
Yeah, if they don't, I don't know, I guess like if you take away Ray's Rampage, Ray was able to also help take control of the game. We've seen what he was able to do with other junglers, so I'm curious to see if they will change up the draft this time around, because I don't know if it's worth just banning Belica, banning Muriel, or you give up Rampage and it goes over to even worse timing. Trix?
Yeah, Ray is dictating a lot of the pace of this game on the Rampage. That's what we've seen him play. But we've also seen, Shin stick to that Morigesh. That seems to be a pretty comfort pick. He's familiar with the damage. He's familiar with how safe he is. I like that mobility of her speed boost for even worse timing. So I think, maybe Dirty Lake and the boys could focus on that. There are a lot of avenues of attack in this draft because we just haven't really seen even worse timing shake up what they've been doing because it's been working so well and other people are letting them do it.
Yeah, and this is the grand finals, you guys. This is the grand finals. Is this going to be the last game for the tournament today, or are we going to see more? Dirty Lake and the boys, are they going to turn things around, or are they not? Are they going to let even worse timing take that third game away from them? I don't know. Who's going to be... Are they going to sweep, or are they not? Spuds, any last things you want to mention?
Give Dirty Lake your energy. We're trying to see some more great Pred gameplay.
That's right. Thank you so much, everyone who is continuing to tune in. I just want to say, for those who are in the chat, if you aren't already, please give us a follow, subscribe if you haven't already. If you've got that Prime sub and you like what you see, please drop us your subscription. If you love more of us, subscribe to the YouTube, follow the Twitter, and join our Discord. Thank you so much, and we're going to go ahead and head over to a break.